Now, I do want to ask you this question. Do you think that you're having more impact now that you've moved to Africa than you did when you were in England?
Oh yeah. Okay, let me elaborate a little bit about how
Sure.
this potentially goes, and I can demonstrate this with my friend on the bus from yesterday. Right?
Okay.
So as usual, sit next to somebody, you have a conversation, and it inevitably gets to, so what are you doing in Kenya? So I explained to the chap about what we've talked about already, and then we get to what am I actually doing here? And one of my current projects, in fact, the major one, is two projects in one. Here in Kenya, there is particular problems for youngsters. The youth
Hmm.
in Kenya make up a large proportion of the demographics here. They constitute about 70% of the alive people, and they have a big problem in Kenya for those young people, which is that there is limited opportunity for them. Many of them go to school, university, and the jobs that are available, very few jobs, are not aligned to the things that they learn in those places.
Hi, I'm Raschell Harlingten, and this is the Transformational Soul Talks. Join me as I speak to many people around the globe, and I understand how the empowerment of their story leads to the trajectory of their life. So join me.
This podcast is sponsored by. Hi, I'm Misty Lee at Campground TBD and my favorite nonprofit, Hayden's Ray. Sometimes we need to fast from society, fast from our relationships, fast from our distractions, fast from the things that are clouding our mind from clarity that may be causing frustration or doubt. Fasting is a beautiful way to do that, and you don't have to give up food unless you want to. At Campground TBD, we offer a safe space in nature for you to come and fast from what you want to, be filled with organic nourishment, body, mind, and soul. Can't wait to see you here at campgroundtbd.com.
Have a warm welcome because he is way warmer than I am. Where I am in Canada, it's -20 here. To my wonderful guest today, Matt Allen. Welcome, Matt.
Hi. You said where you are as if everywhere other than Canada is very cold, very warm. I'm in Kenya, which is quite warm. You only mentioned Canada in comparison to
Well,
where
I'm
I
in
am.
Canada and you're in somewhere that's very warm compared to me. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean you're in Africa. So I'll take that over -20 any day.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Most definitely. It's lovely here. And
Oh, that's
t-shirt weather
nice.
even in the evening.
Nice. So a lot has changed since our last communication. When you came on my show, we talked about what you were doing in the UK, which is where we originally met through Lachelle Atkins on a Zoom. We were all talking. I got to meet you. We did an interview. And then now you're gone. You've moved to Africa. You're living there. You're doing incredible things from Africa. So tell us a little bit about that as to why that shift came so quickly.
You say quickly, but to me that seems like donkeys years ago that we first met. It seems so far away. But England for me was not the place to be. There was a number of factors that meant that I couldn't do what I was purposed to do in my life, or at least that's what I think that I'm here to do. We'll see at the very end, and then I can look back, hopefully just before I die, and think, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do. Uh, but I've ended up in Africa, I've ended up here in Kenya. That's not to say that this is my final resting place, although it might be. But this is home for the moment. This is where I am making some miracles happen. Miracles really define my life and are what people truly are. So here in Kenya, there is a lot of opportunities and a lot of things that got thrust in front of me miraculously. Even yesterday on the bus back from Tanzania, sat next to a gentleman who asked me, have I got USB-C cable to help him charge his phone? So I handed him my battery charging pack and my USB-C cable, and he was very happy to have borrowed that. He then said to me, because we realized that I needed to get off the bus early, and so does he, that he could give me a lift in the taxi that he'd already booked to get me to the place that I was going to. So just a simple act of kindness, right?
Now, I do want to ask you this question. Do you think that you're having more impact now that you've moved to Africa than you did when you were in England?
Oh yeah. Okay, let me elaborate a little bit about how
Sure.
this potentially goes, and I can demonstrate this with my friend on the bus from yesterday, right?
Okay.
So as usual, sit next to somebody, you have a conversation, and it inevitably gets to, so what are you doing in Kenya? So I explained to the chap about what we've talked about already, and then we get to what am I actually doing here? And one of my current projects, in fact, the major one, is two projects in one. Here in Kenya, there is particular problems for youngsters. The youth in Kenya make up a large proportion of the demographics here. They constitute about 70% of the alive people. And they have a big problem in Kenya for those young people, which is that there is limited opportunity for them. Many of them go to school, university, and the jobs that are available, very few jobs, are not aligned to the things that they learn in those places. Hard-working people, trust me. If there were some people that I've ever met that work harder even than me, it is them. And I am very impressed by that. Now, a lot of them go to university, polytechnic, college, and they move away from home and stay in these hostels. So I'm going to change the way that these hostels are done. And instead of just being about housing and having a good time whilst being a student, I'm going to make it possible for the ground floor and the basement and the surrounding area to the building to be a place of business for the local community to have some jobs working in some of our businesses, or if they want to bring their business into our building, into our
Wow.
grounds, then they can.
And I think that is such an important thing because I remember back in, I think it probably would have been 2014. I remember speaking to a lot of people within the ML multi-level marketing world, and they had said they predicted within the next 8 to 10 years that entrepreneurship would be the way that people go. It would transform
Mm.
people's lives. The cushion of the job security and having all of that have pretty much fallen to the wayside. There is nothing. And that entrepreneurship is, and they used to, then he said, I could call it rise of the entrepreneur, because being part of a community and being part of that entrepreneurship, you start to build not just yourself, but everybody around you. So I think that is very commendable. I do have a question though for you. How would you say that's
Mm.
transformed you in the last little bit that doing this here in Kenya?
Okay. So I have embraced more my miracle life. I've been through certain situations, and you know about some of these because we talk occasionally off of camera.
Mm-hmm.
And those experiences, those things have taught me well that the storm can be weathered. That no matter what comes along, there is something better coming along after it. And even though we might feel, and I've lived this experience for much of my life, even though we might feel that the end is here, and in some ways the end has been there because I've died a
Mm-hmm.
few times, right? But no matter the odds, we still continue, we still get on with life, things happen, and potentially we all get better in some way, shape, or form.
You're really shifting the landscape there, Matt. You're making a big,
Mhm.
huge difference. Because I remember our conversation, as you said, it feels like decades ago, but it was only a few years ago. Um,
Yeah.
and I could feel the frustration of not being able to achieve what you wanted because you felt in the UK that there was, I would call it stagnant energy. And
Mm.
here there seems to be more of an energy of wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to move forward. What a big shift that has been for you. Um, so are
Let
you
me put
still
the cherry on the cake.
okay?
I mentioned about this new friend that I made on the bus.
Yes, you did. The USB guy.
Hmm. USB guy. Now, I'm telling him about all of these things. And he says to me, among some other things, and he's very interesting and very interested, but particularly about this thing. How many social media followers does an influencer need to have? Because he asked me quite a few interesting questions and
Right.
deep and meaningful things. So I said to him, well, we start off at 1,000. We've got a number of people with 1,000, and there's one guy with 1,000,000. And he said to me, well, my wife has 100,000. Would that be okay? I said to him, sure. Let's get together with your wife and have a chat.
You have to work just as hard to have those nice things that someone would have to in Kenya or the Caribbean. The difference is you have more of it, but you have to work just as hard. The things just cost more money. So we don't
Yeah.
have those streets that are paved with gold. And I actually remember speaking to someone in Central America and saying, you actually have the kingdom here. You have fresh fruit, you have fresh water, you have beautiful sunshine, you have clean air to a point, and way better life. Like you could see that they were really healthy and they were living their life. They were living it. They weren't just working. So there is, like you said, the narrative that is told to people is very interesting. What they tell you in the West, what they tell you in other countries, it's almost like just to keep you all, I would like to say separated. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, very, very interesting contrast because obviously you're in Canada, I'm from the UK. Here in Kenya, one thing that is, and Tanzania as well, when I was there last week, one thing that's very obvious is that in the UK, there is not much commerce happening. There is not much business happening because of business rates and the cost of the rentals and
Right,
all the rest of it to do business. And the cost of the raw materials, like for fruit and vegetables, for example.
right.
In my city, there is now, I believe, 3 places that you can actually buy fruit and vegetables in the city centre. Here, I can walk out of my front gate and
Yes,
turn right, and there's fresh milk shop, fresh water shop, probably about 3 fruit and vegetable stalls, some people selling some clothes, a hairdresser, and nail salon. All of it within literally, I could throw a stone, and I'm not very strong. I could throw a stone and hit those things. So this is kind of the message that I've been saying for a long time. And I keep thinking that we are getting very much close to the optimal time.
mhm,
Because for me, we seem to be heading on this course to get to a point, and that point is a point of almost desperation. And that is driven by many of those elites and those people up at the top. They seem to have, let's call it an agenda of wanting certain things to happen and certain things to come into force. And we don't have time to get into a lot of those things.
right.
But that causes people discomfort, that causes people distress, that causes people to have to walk a very long way to go to a fruit and vegetable shop or to be able to use their bank facilities or to be able to have freedom of speech. I mean, things like that, right?
Mhm.
And those problems should be solved.